Hello everyone. In today's session, we are going to learn document object model DOM. So basically, DOM is a platform and language neutral interface that will allow program and script to dynamically access and update the content, structure, and the style of the document. So window of object is the primary point from which most other objects come. When we see the diagram, you can see that window is at the top and all the other objects came from that. So when we write document.write to display the content inside our HTML, we are basically writing window.document.write because this window is by default there. We need not to write it because document object came inside window object. So window will be there by default. We need not to write it. Okay, so let's see that diagram. Window is at the top and it contains many objects like self, parent, window, top, frames, which will contain all the frames which are there inside our window. Navigator will return the information about the browser we are using. Location will give the location information. History will be provided with the history object of the window. The document which we are going to see in detail in this particular session, and screen object which will provide the information about the screen, like what is the width of the screen, what is the height of the screen, and something like that. So basically we are going to focus on today's session only on document which was there inside window, right? We'll see as and when required, like navigator, location, history, and the screen. So there are certain properties to document object, right? We'll see the properties and then we'll see the methods of document object. The properties are like anchors, applets, body, cookie, from which we'll get all the cookies, domain, forms. Like if there are forms inside our document, we can access using forms property, images, links, referrer, title, and URL. So we'll see everything in detail, but we'll start with the links. Initially, we'll start with the links. For example, in our page, we have certain links: ahref, http, http colon slash slash www.darshan.ac.in, and we say it as a Darshan. In a new line, we are writing a new link: ahref, http gtu.ac.in, and I want to access all the links which are there inside my HTML inside a script, JavaScript. So I can access it with the help of document.links, because here links, all these properties we can use with the document.links to get the links, collection of links. So I want to display that it's actually a collection. So what I need to do, currently I can use one method, console.log. This method will display not on the HTML, not here. When we click on this particular F12 or a console, we'll get here the output of console.log. It will log all the details here, right? So I'm writing console.log, and inside that I'm writing document.links just as of now to display it inside our console. So when I refresh the page, I'll get all the links. Like there are two links. First link is a text is Darshan. So here what we are displaying is Darshan, and its href is this. So there are many other parameters they provide. Similarly, for the second link, we'll get the details like what is the text and what is the href. We can also, like if we don't want console.log and we want that to be displayed separately, we can definitely write document.write. But here I need to be specific, like document.links of 0. I want the first link and I want href of that particular link. So when I refresh the page, I'll get here the href of first link. If I want href of second link, GTU, then I just need to specify index 1, because that's inside index 1, and I'll get the href this output. Let's see. So here is the output. So this is how we can use all the properties, like I want images, then I can write document.images here, right? If I want anchors, anchors are something similar to a, but here we'll specify name instead of href. It is called an anchors. It was used initially in HTML, not currently. But if we want that, not href, now we cannot use href because it doesn't have href, and I'll write console.log, and let's see. So here we are getting the list, sorry, anchors. I need to specify anchors. So we are getting all the anchors. Here is the first anchor and second anchors. So similarly we can use all these properties. We are going to see body and forms again in detail. So this is all are the properties of document object. You can go through with each and every properties. Similar to properties, we'll have methods also with the DOM, like write. We have already used write ln to append a new line character, similar to write but with a new line character after each statement. Open and close of the string. And most important three methods: document dot get element by id, document dot get elements, make sure it is get elements when we use with name, and tag, document dot get elements by tag name. Because id is unique, so there won't be many elements, only one element will be there, so get element only. But same name can be have can have many elements can have same name, so there will be elements. And similarly many elements will have same tag name, so get elements. Make sure you don't make mistake here. Get elements by name, get elements by tag name, and get element by id. So we are going to see these three methods in detail. We have more two methods like set timeout, clear timeout, and similarly set interval and clear interval. We are going to see those also in detail. So first we'll start with the get element by id. When we supposed to get the reference of the element from the HTML using id, right? We have specified id in our HTML and we want that particular id inside our JavaScript, then we'll use a method get element by id. Let's see an example. For example, in HTML we have specified an id. We have specified id in our HTML and we want that element in our JavaScript. We want to access this element in our JavaScript. We can use method document dot get element by id because we have id here, and inside that particular method I'll pass a id which I want to get, and after that we'll get the value of that particular element, right? Let's see an example. Practically it would be very simple to understand. We have input type equal to text. Instead of name I have id txt1. Let's say I have id txt1. I have one button, input type equal to button, and value of that particular button is check. And on click event, I'm specifying one event. We have already seen basic event on click, when the button is clicked. I want to call one function check value, and I need to create this function, so I'm creating that function over here, function check value. Here what I can specify is I want to get value of this particular id. Let's see first, when I run this particular page, here I have text box. For example, I am writing Arjun here and I want what I have written inside this particular element. So I can use id to get this element. First I want a whole element. So for that I am writing variable a equal to document dot, as I want to get this element by id because I have id here, I can specify get element by id, and inside that I'll pass the id of this particular element. Okay, and when I again console.log this particular element, when I console.log that element and I refresh the page, I'm writing something here and I click on the button check. So this particular element is displayed, whole element. You can see input type equal to text and id equal to txt1. So basically I don't want that element, I want the value of that element, right? Again, I'm refreshing the page. As you can see, by default there is nothing written over here, right? If I want something to be written default over there, I need to specify one element, that is one attribute value, and I can specify default value here. So when I refresh the page, by default it will be there. So what I want to say using this is, whatever we write here will be an attribute named value over here. Okay, again, first we need to get element by id or name or anything, but as of now I am writing get element by id. So I'll get whole element, and from that what I want is, I want value. So I can simply write document dot value here. What I want, I will specify a dot value. So by default it is a default value. When I click here, it will display default value only. But if I change here, sorry, but if I change here Arjun and I click here, it will display Arjun. If I specify arjun.bala, it will display arjun.bala. If I specify Darshan, it will display Darshan. It will log console, inside the console, a value of that particular element. Value, again, make sure it's value. It's very interesting. We can get or we can set. For example, it is a type. Let's say if I want to display the type of that particular element, which kind of element it is. As we know, it's a text element. Input type equal to what I have written, text. If it was password, right, if it was a password, then here it will be password, because I have console.log a.type. Similarly, as I said, we can get as well as we can update it, right? Update the DOM. So if I specify a.type it to be password, so initially it was text. Initially it was text, but when I click on the button check value, the element will get the element using the ID, this particular ID, and we are changing its type to be password. From text it will be password. So when I refresh the page, initially there it is type text, but when I click on this button, it will be converted to a password field. So we cannot see this. Simple. Any property we can change, any attribute we can change, like type, like value, like even ID. Ready? Initially, I like, if I can also make it a radio, it will become a radio button. Simple. Like, I just need to change type of that particular input. So from text, I want to make it password or radio or checkbox or any kind of value I can set. Okay, initially what I want from here, I want to have two attributes, or in two elements, like username and password. I don't want to display default value because it's for understanding. And when I want, like, whether user is valid or not, so what I do, I'll create one element username. Similar, I'll create a password, and I want to check statically whether user is valid or not with the static password u dot value equal to if admin, username is admin, and then p dot value equal to 1234566. So I am providing a static password, username and password. If user enter admin inside the first element, because that we have set with the user ID, and password 123456 will alert or will write document dot write valid user, and else will write document dot write invalid user. So this is we can do with the help of document dot get element by id. We'll create a static username and password. Here if I specify anything wrong and I check, it will display invalid user. If I write admin and 12345 456, then it will display valid user. So this is how we can create or get the values of the elements using the id. Okay, this is the first technique. Using that you can do. Or for example, I want to change like certain elements which was not input type, like I want to change div division, and division have some id like my div. Ready? When I click on the button, I want to display certain things. For example, initially it was very small content, hello world, and I am writing a value of here read more. For example, I want to do something like this, hello world, and when I click this button read more, I'll get all the details of that particular element, something like that I want. So what I'll do, I'll create one element and I'll provide an id my div. Here you can see that if I specify value over here, it won't work because value will work with input type. Here I don't have input type equal to text or password. I have a division, a tag which starts and end, and I want to display the properties inside that particular div. So starting tag, ending tag, in between I want to display in between. If you want to display in between, you can use one property inner HTML, and I am concatenating that. Like simply if I want to specify, I can use like this a basic syntax. I am concatenating certain things. For example, initially br, then I am concatenating this is detailed information, something like anything. I am appending something. When I click on OK button, it will append. It will append, and I'll get the details more accurately, or complete detail. If I want to display, I can do something like this. So when I click, it will append certain things inside my inner HTML. That means starting tag, ending tag, in between I want to like access that particular element. So this is how I can use id. If we have name, for example, we have name of element instead of id. Here I don't have id in my HTML, I have name. Ready? And I want to get elements using name. Similar to that particular only, I am just going back from our I'm doing undo, and I'm going with the same code, document.write valid user, document.write invalid user, right? So here I have get the element with the help of id, as I have id. But if I have name over here, if I have name over here, I cannot use get element by id. If I do that, let's see, I am opening the console and I am refreshing the page. When I click, it will generate an error, read property value of null, because username id is not there. Username with any element with the id username is not there. It will generate an error that value of null, because there is no id which is username. So I want to get element by name, but make sure you cannot write document.get element by name, because there it is possible to have similar names to different elements. So I need to specify get elements by name. Similarly, document.get elements by name password. But again, if I refresh the page, I'll get an error. It will provide an invalid only, even if I specify admin and 123 4 5 6, it will be invalid user. Why? Because we have an array. Now we have an array, not only an element, elements. So I need to specify which element I want, specific element like zeroth index. Why I am specifying zeroth index is I have only one username. If I had two username, like first name, here also username, here also username, and I want to access second username, then I can specify first, like first index, right? One index which is second username. I want to access first username, so I am specifying zeroth index. Simple. Ready? And if I refresh the page and if I specify now, so we'll have valid user. So when we access get elements by name, we need to specify which element you want to access. Most of the cases it would be a zeroth index, or we'll get an array and you can iterate that array whatever the way you want, right? So this is how also we can access. And same way get elements by tag name. If we want to like if you want all the inputs, if we want all the inputs straight away, we need not to specify this. Or in our case here, if I want that, I can write input. Why? Because this is also input, this is also input, and this is also input. All these are inputs, so I am specifying get elements by tag name. We'll specify a tag name over there. All the tag names are input, but here 0 that means this, and 1 that means the second input. So it will work again the same way. So this is all about DOM. You can access document object model any document with the help of document dot. Either get element by ID, get elements by name, or get elements by tag name. Thank you.